Hello, everybody. Welcome to Midweek. I have here two of the most incredibly intelligent and good-looking men. This side of the Mason-Dixon line, or one of those lines. We're glad you joined us. What we're going to do is just a little recap of the weekend. I know a lot of you got to join us for Priority One, where we are pursuing God's missional destiny. This year, we were kind of looking around our neighborhood. In particular, we are asking the question, God, how do we reach the next generation? It was kind of followed out of the passage that we had in Psalm 78, and then David, his son, and Moa, they came in and hit the ball out of the park. But that's kind of my impression. Leon, what did you think? Some of the highlights for you personally, or maybe you could say the top 3 ways that God spoke to my wife, or you.
I will not answer that question with my wife. But yeah, it was a great opportunity to refocus on the importance of prayer and asking God to break my heart for the lost, and also learning how to ask good questions and listening.
Yeah, you went out on Saturday? That was incredible, wasn't it?
Very good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that discussion too. Kind of the entry points, into a person's life. Yeah, it's. I've been asking everybody, what would be your message to the world?
Me too.
It's funny because how many times I've had people tell me, that's a really good question. I have no idea, but it's a great one. Pastor Jeff, tell us how God convicted Tammy. Or what was the highlights for you?
Certainly let her speak for herself. Likewise, I have been out numerous times. I've even led these little sessions out in the streets, and I have never been prepped with a question that I thought was as helpful as that one. If you had a message for the world, what would you say? That was amazing. And I also appreciated the humble spirit with which our friends delivered a message that was confrontational. They gave us a challenge, but they didn't come in guns blazing and punch us in the mouth. They gave us a challenging message, but their humility is what led, and that was something that really that resonated with me, and I noticed, and I want to do that when I'm encouraging people to think differently. I want to do it with the same kind of humble spirit they had. So that was a highlight for me. It's just their demeanor, their temperament made them really easy to listen to and to follow their lead.
Yeah. I mean, the genuineness of their life was validated really by the genuineness of their stories. And kind of an interesting thing, I was really struck too by how many difficult places, be it Amsterdam, New Zealand, that they were in. And rather than looking at the difficulty of that situation, through prayer, they saw the opportunities. That was, I think, one of the impacts, because I've been through this last 18 months trying to ask God, would you help me see the opportunities rather than all the restrictions?
Yeah.
Because those restrictions to turn you into kind of a sourpuss. I know it can be. But I really, their model of that, just genuinely, I loved that. So we've had time to process as a staff a little bit. How does a weekend like this impact a church? I mean, what are some of the things, it's the last thing we want is a one and off and we're on, okay, let's move back to normal. We don't want to go back to normal. I mean, that's like a dryer and that's boring.
Yeah.
What are some of the impacts that you think can happen that maybe you've even heard about?
Yeah. We were forced to ask ourselves how we view the lost sheep. And as people have been talking, we've been interacting with this, I think people are realizing that some of them are passively indifferent toward the wandering lost sheep.
Yeah.
Less, but some have some contempt in their heart that lost sheep chose to wander and they're getting their due. But we were asked to explore that and then to ask if we had a soul. Do you have anguish? Is your heart broken for that lost sheep? And it convicted people in a really good way. And they're starting to identify, there's a lost sheep in my life.
Yeah.
I've been indifferent. I need to have a heart broken and I need to pursue them. And that is going to bring about change. I know it.
I want to come back to it because I love that insight. And I think that gives us some next step thing. So I'm going to come back to that. Leon, what do you think? How does this impact a church? You work predominantly with men. What do you hope to see happen coming out of a weekend like this in our guys?
I'd really love to see a prayer movement start with that focus and trusting Christ and God to work in our lives to bring a revival to not only our men but to our city. But it also helped me to see the concerns and the viewpoints of the unaffiliated, because sometimes I think they're so far out. But it helped me a different perspective on seeing where they're coming from and learning to see questions can build good relationships.
One of the things that I started to even hear over the weekend is we began to see we actually are already in the world in ways that maybe we hadn't given ourselves credit. One of our gals is a teacher, and her entire ecosystem is filled with lost people. And we began to just explore, how does the church become a partner with you? How do we help you see, because when I go to work, I don't think too often of evangelizing you two. You're pretty saved and wonderfully respectable. The vast majority of our folks don't live in this environment, and it's not like we live in a bubble. We have plenty of things that can happen, and we have neighbors, coaching and everything else. But next steps is, I think one of the next steps is to help every person in our church through the high five or whatever is just own. Carrie and I have a young lady in our family, in our association, I should say, that has got stage 4 cancer. And apart from a miracle of God, and I think it was a wake-up call for us this weekend. It's like, wait a minute, we have a young lady who doesn't have long to live. Are we anguishing for her soul, or just walking through the process of death? What are some of the other steps that you think that you see? I heard about, either of you can talk about it, a group of yammers, it's young adults, that are getting together, I think, on Saturday morning and praying and saying, God, what's our next step?
Yeah, that was one of the things I think that was very clear as I was mentioning the humility that I saw them speak with, is another program, another thing to do is not the thing to do. A movement of God is what's going to be required to deal with this insurmountable task. None of us are smart enough, capable enough, have enough charisma to rally up all the lost and get them saved.
Yeah.
It's an impossible task. And as more and more people are realizing that burden is driving them to the foot of the cross. It's driving them to their knees to say, I need help because I can't identify those 5 people in my life that I have been indifferent toward. And now I feel bad about it. And it's driving me to prayer to percolate in my soul this courage to move toward them. And now we're equipped with a really good question. So you put it all together, and it's kind of this dynamic little powder keg. All we need is a spark to ignite it.
For the vast majority of my pastoral leadership life, have had a fondness for. We have a mission, a vision, a strategy. We know where we're going. I think we all felt really at peace and comfortable with the fact that we don't have a strategy coming out of this weekend. We have an assignment. Seek the face of God. I started during COVID a prayer time. I think people needed an outlet, Candidly, started off with 30, 40. Man, they were like, whoa. You get going and you're down to 8. Although Monday night, we doubled in size.
Sure.
It was incredible. And I'd invite you every Monday night, 7 o'clock, right here at the church. One of the things that really struck me is, again, it's not about developing a program coming out of this weekend. It's really about developing a heart of dependence and passion and love.
And it just makes me think, as you're talking, when Jesus sent his disciples out, he actually told them on purpose, don't take a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
All you need to take is my authority and my power. You'll be good.
Yeah.
That was the plan.
I was listening to one of the new prayers, and they have a lost son. And I think for a lot of us who have somebody in our family that's lost, and if you've been praying for them for 15, 20, 25 years, it's kind of easy to go flat on that. And God stirred the heart. And I think that that's one of the next steps is, don't look for a plan, seek the face of God. And, but how about for you, Leon, as you think about next steps, God's laid on your heart maybe to lead another prayer time. We have a number of corporate prayer times through the week here at the church. Monday night, Tuesday morning, we pray as a staff. Thursday morning, we pray as a staff. There's a group that pray for the nations Thursday morning, 7:30, I think it is. And then we pray for the weekend services at 8:15 So there's a lot of them. God's kind of stirred in your heart. What else do you see?
Yeah, where does the lost sheep hang out? And it starts in our family. And there's wayward children that's gone astray, and praying for them, but also in your neighborhood and where we work and where we hang out in the downtown area. That's where the lost sheep hang. And my desire is to see small teams getting together to pray and go and engage where the lost sheep hang out. And like you say, I meet with three other men on every other Thursday morning at 6 in the morning to pray. And so it's little groups like that, and how do we engage our community and through it with the power of prayer.
I would say if I could invite anyone is to kind of make the most of this weekend, is seek God's face and ask God. I love the way David and Ben both said, you can't tell your heart to care, but you can ask God. You can repent and ask God to help you care. And I think that's probably the biggest factor, isn't it?
Absolutely. And as I'm thinking about our, those of us that are in our small group studies in Judges, one of the lines that J.D. Greer has been saying over and over again is God isn't as interested in your ability as he is in your availability.
Yeah, it's true.
And as we are making ourselves available and say, God, use me, we need to be looking for the opportunities and then have the guts to step through that door when God opens it for us.
Yeah.
We just need to be available. And this is, I think, that stirred that in our church. You know what? I need to be moving. The Great Commission says go.
Yeah.
So I think it's all fitting hand in glove. It's really neat to see how God has orchestrated all these things, and they're just kind of seamlessly fitting together. And I think that's why we can all feel it. We can sense it at work.
Mm-hmm. By the way, really cool, when we went out Saturday, and there was about 50 of us that went out. That was pretty amazing. One of the young ladies we began to engage with, she came back, she kind of shared her life story, came to church on Sunday morning, and guess what? It was somebody in Thrive, led her to Christ. Yeah, awesome. So the story goes on. That's so good. Well, let us encourage you. Seek God's face and ask God for a heart, an anguish for the lost. It's one of the words that came out of this weekend for me. Less anger, more anguish. That's one of my prayers. And we trust that God will stir in your heart. We have a couple things we want to make sure you just are aware of tonight. Some of you may not watch this on Wednesday, and if you don't, we missed you. But tonight is Trunk or Treat. If you have a need for sugar or a need for fellowship, both of those are going to be met in spades tonight. So you want to come, and you can come, hang out, fellowship, walk around, and you say, well, it's going to rain. It's going to be so wet. You're an Oregonian. It's okay. But actually, they have plans to move it inside if it's really raining. So come on down, 5:30, 6 o'clock. It's going to be an incredible evening. And so we'll see you then. My friend, you have a retreat coming up for guys only.
Yes.
And what's your theme?
Being recharged. Over the last 18 months, men, you have been frustrated, stressed, and probably fatigued. So you need an opportunity to get away November 5th through the 7th at Cap Tapawingo to be recharged by the Word of God, by prayer, by other men, outdoors, and just being still. And so tomorrow at noon on Thursday is a cutoff date so I can give the camp the right food amounts. So go online, and there's options to sign up. If you can't make the whole event, you can come up part of it. So go online and register today.
I wish I could be there, but I am going to be recharged, searching for an elk that would like to move into my freezer.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I'm just going to whistle. I'm going to pray him in.
Yes, good.
I don't know, but I wish I could be with you. It's going to be a great time. Upward's coming up.
Oh, baby.
Oh, man.
It's here.
Pray for Pastor Jeff. He's feeling like $1 million, but he's got a schedule that is unbearable for the next couple of weeks.
Yep, we're going to make it.
So pray for him that he stays healthy And he just has an unbelievable, the numbers are going to be huge this year.
Yeah, we'll hit 800. It's been really exciting.
Wow.
People have been poised and ready for a return. So it's going to be exciting.
That is so amazing. Thriving through the holidays. You've heard it before. Some of the hardest days for people, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, people who are going through first loss, first season, if you will. Maybe their husband has passed away, their wife has passed away. Maybe it's the first year they're going through this season as a divorced person. Or maybe there's just grief. It's just a difficulty. My wife redeemed my soul along with Jesus. I used to despise holidays. Christmas was a nightmare for me for a variety of reasons. It's not the case, but I can identify with people. There might be some people in your life that was really just like me. It's a hard season for them to get through. So look online, allow maybe even this opportunity to be something that you can reach in and help a lost person thrive this year through the holidays. We love you. Thanks for joining us in this cool time. Thanks, gentlemen. You're awesome.
Pleasure.
Completely awesome. And the guy behind the camera is not only good looking, he's smart and he's talented. We love him. Thank you, Sean. Have a great week. We love you.